Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. Coming up, we're in the northwest of England after grouse. We're in the southeast of England saving little piglets from foxes. We're in the southwest of England learning how to shoot pheasants more accurately. But first, we're at the funeral of Britain's most famous carp. They came to pay their respects not in black, but realtree. Two-tone, Britain's biggest freshwater fish, was cunning, difficult to hook, harder to land, and the fisherman had to be as wily as he was. Around 50 mourners made the effort to attend the service at Conningbrook Lake near Ashford in Kent at the weekend. There was no body to lay to rest, but there was a plaque unveiled in memory of this great fish. Because of his global fame, Two-Tone won't be buried on the banks of this old Brett concrete gravel pit yet. He's being donated to the Natural History Museum.
I'm absolutely amazed with the interest shown with the death of the fish, worldwide interest. And I thought, well, if we put it in the ground, it's gone forever. So I decided to have it mounted, and I hope to donate it to the Natural History Museum so that a few of the kids can have a look at it in the future over the years. And then the remains which are left from the taxidermy will come back and put in the ground.
Two-Tone was very rarely caught. However, this group of men will all be able to tell their children and grandchildren they were among the few.
I mean, it's probably a fish that I don't believe is ever going to be beaten.
Historical fish, at the end of the day, and it'll probably be a long time till anything comes close to getting big as that fish.
Other mourners understand what this fish meant.
And they come here sitting for days and days and days,
very, very
hoping
dedicated.
to catch Two-Tone. It's like the Holy Grail.
Lee Jackson wrote a book about the quest to catch this incredible fish. So what's now left for fishermen of his calibre?
Don't really know. I mean, there's not, as far as I know, any carp approaching that sort of weight. I mean, the British record weight stands at £67.14, obviously two-tone. And I think about the nearest to that is probably around about £62, £63. A friend of mine caught the fish at £50 and 4 ounces, which at the time was one of the biggest carp in the country. And from that point on, it really became an obsession of me, especially as I was living in Kent as well, to catch that fish. And it took me fishing it, in the spring, summer and autumn, most weeks fishing it for about 50 hours per week, and it took me 6 years. So it's a pretty difficult one to track down.
Everyone today agrees it's fitting that this unique fish who brought so much pleasure will be preserved forever for others to admire. Now Mike Yardley continues his series on how to shoot pheasants more accurately.
We've covered some of the basics: how to load the gun, how to close it safely, how to mount it, and indeed how to hold the gun properly and how to stand. But now let's move on to shooting technique. When you're out shooting and you want to do the biz, you've got to shoot where the bird is going and not where it is. That's a very wise old saying, because the great skill of shotgun shooting is that you're not shooting at the bird, you're usually shooting well in front of the bird. Different methods have developed over the years to accomplish this. In the old days of flintlock guns, you had to maintain a lead, you had to sustain a lead in front of the bird, mainly because the gun themselves took quite a long time from pulling the trigger to actually firing the shot into the air. Modern guns are much quicker thanks to nitrocellulose powders and all sorts of other technical developments. And so today, generally, there are 3 common shooting methods. Some people still use the maintained lead method, sometimes for high pheasants, sometimes for duck shooting. I think the disadvantage of the maintained lead method for game shooting is that it's rather deliberate. And I think one of the things that you need to do when you shoot at game birds is shoot with an accelerating gun. Personally, I prefer the swing-through techniques, but there are some interesting variations of them. The famous old phrase, bum, belly, beak. Take your muzzles to the tail feathers of the bird, push through the bird, fire as you see the gap, and keep the gun moving. Bum, belly, beak. I call that close swing-through. So you're taking the muzzles of the gun to the tail feathers and then you're pushing in front of it. You can also have a form of swing through, and I use this on higher birds, where I'll swing through from a couple of yards behind the bird, push through the bird, see a fair gap and pull the trigger. In either case, whether I'm using the close swing through method or a method where I'm coming through from a couple of yards behind, I'm not measuring the lead. I'm letting it all happen instinctively. I pull the trigger as I pass through the bird and see the gap. And there's one other simple method that I've used as a teaching method for novices. I call it point and push. And that is, you see the bird, you point at it or point at the tail feathers, and you simply push in front of it. One thing I think is very important is that you form a relationship between your gun barrels and the bird as you complete your mount and swing. Some people try and shortcut that process, and I never think it works. So, the main shooting methods: maintained lead, swing through, and what I call point and push. Now, just to give you some idea of the sort of forward allowance that you need to shoot at a moving bird, roughly speaking, if you were shooting at a pheasant 40 yards away, and that's as far as you should be shooting pheasant under normal conditions, you're going to need a lead of about 9 feet in front of it, something like that. I mean, don't hold me to it to the inch, but that's about right. And I often think of birds, when I'm shooting in the field, I think this is a bird that effectively I'm just going to shoot a little bit in front, so I think that's a bird I'm going to shoot in the head. I might see a standard pheasant, the average pheasant, which is probably going to want about 1 yard or 4 feet a lead. And some of the stratospheric birds, they might even need 3 or 4 yards of lead. But I keep myself into a very limited range of birds. I won't shoot anything too low, so if anything's much below 20 yards, I don't want to shoot at it, and if it's much above 45 yards, I don't want to shoot it in either. And I can develop a very good sense of the leads I need in those different situations. Now, one other point, and it's a very important point. Shooting game birds isn't just about finding the right lead, it's also about finding the line of the bird. And here again is my rule of thumb. If you've got an over and under gun, you want to, unless the bird is coming directly towards you, the barrels of the gun want to be perpendicular to the line of flight of the bird. If you've got a side-by-side gun, the barrels want to be parallel to the line of flight of the bird. Let me just show you that. I'm going to turn around. If you've got that straight incoming bird, the line isn't an issue. If you've got a bird that's breaking slightly to your left though, I'm going to take that bird, assess its line, and there my gun barrels, and over and under in this case, are perpendicular to the imaginary line, and to the other side again, perpendicular to the imaginary line. This is the danger though. Right-hander, bird's coming slightly to your right, you come onto that bird, the bird is breaking slightly right, you're a right-hander, you bring the gun up, your weight tends to come back, your head lifts off the stock, you've lost the line and you've missed the bird above and behind. You shouldn't have been there, you should have been there, and you must keep the gun moving.
We're off after grouse, the king of game birds, over pointers, the traditional method of shooting them. It's a bumper year for grouse in many areas, but it's not all about squandering squillions on 1,000 brace days.
It's not easy, and you're there and you're excited and you're waiting for something to happen and something gets up.
I join a team of 3 guns shooting over pointers on a moor in Cumbria. Target is 5 brace, that's just 10 birds.
If we go over that, we'll maybe shoot 1 or 2 less tomorrow, and if we don't get to 5 brace today, we're up to 2 brace so far, just with a handful of shots now, so we should get 5 brace, no problem.
Sometimes this kind of grouse shooting goes right, and sometimes it goes wrong, with dogs pointing at where they reckon there's a grouse, then deciding it's a false alarm. Don't think of this as grouse shooting, think of this as extreme dog walking. Donna Clark and Liz Osborne are the dog handlers today.
It's the pleasures coming out and running the dogs, really, and I have to say Liz and I are both very fortunate that we have guns that will come and pay for the pleasure of shooting over our dogs, because that's why we have them. It's for the love of running them, really. We count in the spring and the summer, do the grouse counting then, and then in the shootings are the chance to run them. So yeah, it's a lovely day.
Providing you with sport, really.
Absolutely, yeah. It gives us, I don't shoot myself, so therefore I'm very lucky I have a husband who does shoot.
Have you always had English?
Creme de la creme, English. Yes.
They're very aristocratic looking, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Why do you like them?
Because they are. I think of the three, the sort of the English setters, the Irish setters, and the English pointers. I think possibly they are slightly easier to train.
Yes.
And I like the idea that when they do scent the game birds, they do have a definite point, so you know that they're serious, and you can get to them, and then get your gun set up, and then slowly make your way towards the point. And I like that firm decision that the pointers give you.
It's a very flat point, isn't it? So they're looking absolutely directly at it, and you have quite a long time, don't you, from when they point to.
Well, that all depends on how wild the birds are. If the birds are very wild, they're sort of up before you've got to the point. At the beginning of the year, after the glorious 12th, birds are still in their covers. They're still sitting tight. So the birds, on the whole, the dogs have got a chance to point the birds, and the birds are sitting. As the season goes on and the weather turns a bit wild, you'll find that the actual birds will be getting up before, possibly even before your bird dogs will scent the birds, and the birds will be away before you get to them. Every day's different.
Rory is an Irish red and white setter who the breed has moved more towards the showing world over the last sort of 10-20 years, and the lady that bred Rory was very keen. She had showing lines but was very keen to get back to the working dogs again. There's a lot of working red and whites in Ireland still, but there's not so many in the UK, so Rory's quite unique. He has won a novice trial in the UK, and he has gone on and shown at Crufts and won his field trial class at Crufts as well. So
he's a Crufts champion and a field trial champion?
Yes, he's not a field trial, no, he's a novice trial. He won a novice trial and he won his class at Crufts. I'm afraid when he went into the I don't know what they call it actually, when they've got all the different age bands and so on, and his stamp is a little bit different from the show variety, shall we say.
And he's a red and white, which is very unusual.
He's a nice red and white, yeah. I believe, and I could be wrong on this, but I believe the red and white's the original colour. And somebody at some point down the line got a predominantly red puppy and bred those lines, and the red came out. So some people believe that the red and white's the original colour and the reds come from it. You'll see most of the working reds pop here just a little bit. They've got a little bit of white on their chest quite often.
Is she an Irish red?
Yeah, she's an Irish red setter. Poppy is sitting up here at the top. She's just a young dog and still a work in progress.
Yes.
We hope. And her little kennel friend here is Honey, the Cocker Spaniel.
And Honey's something of a rescue story.
She is. She's a little foster dog we took in. The family that had her, their personal circumstances changed and they could no longer keep the dog. So she came to live with us. She's working bred but has never done a working job at all. So this is her first day out being a working dog. And I don't think she wants to go back to suburbia now.
She did her first retrieve today.
She did indeed, yes. I think she was slightly surprised to find a dead bird in the heather, but she brought it back beautifully. The only other quarry, shall we say, she brought me a big rat the other day that the cat had obviously killed. So I thought, well, there's obviously something in here.
Enter to rats and enter to
yes,
grouse.
absolutely. So she's done fur and feather now. So.
By lunchtime, the man who lets the sport here, Robert Benson, says what he thinks of the show so far.
Well, I think we've got 2.5 brace, which I'm very pleased with. We've actually been on a bit of moorland that we very rarely shoot, so to have a quiet, walk round with the pointers and so on, it's been great fun morning.
And a little bit more to look forward to this afternoon.
Yes, we're going to go on to the main moor this afternoon. We'll see quite a lot more grouse, I hope, and certainly they should get a chance of a shot or two.
So that was just a curtain raiser.
Absolutely.
How long have you been looking after this estate?
I've been here for 33 years. I came here in the mid-70s, been here ever since, looking after the sporting side of the whole estate, which is not just grouse. We do partridges on the edge of the moor, a lot of stalking, both red and roe. I think a lot of people don't realise you can do Highland red stalking in this sort of scenery here on the edge of the Lake District. What we don't do nowadays is a large-scale pheasant shoot.
This has been an outstanding year for grouse in some places. How have you fared here in Cumbria?
Well, I think we've done reasonably well. Time will still tell. We haven't driven the main moor yet. As you know, we had a very, very hard winter with feet of snow. A lot of grouse moved off the hill, completely off the hill, and I think we were very concerned what was going to happen to them. It seems to be that basically they've come back. The hard winter has taken out the old, the weak, and so on. So it's actually done a very good job of culling, particularly those with a high worm count. The worm counts are low. The hens, I think, were late to nest. That may be something to do with the fact that the heather was very late, which is a knock-on effect from the hard winter, and maybe not quite in peak condition. So brood sizes look as though in this part of the world they may be down. But basically having a very healthy stock of grouse is the best thing you can have. And this is a repeat of the 63 grouse season following on the 1962-63 winter, which was just about the hardest on record that most people can remember.
How many acres do you keep here?
I would think overall it's probably in the region of about 16,000 acres, but the main heather area is probably about 5.
And so,
rest made up of sort of forestry and white ground.
And grouse is your staple, really, is it?
Yeah, and a few partridges, yeah.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of days like this one?
We do several. It just rather depends on what the stock of grouse is, but usually about 4 or 5 days, something like that, something in that region.
And Cumbria is not instantly known for big driven days, is it? But
no, there are 1 or 2 moors that are on the sort of Cumbria border when you get over into Durham and North Yorkshire that do have quite good days most years, but generally speaking there's very, very few grouse moors in Cumbria and the Lake District itself.
With the glorious Lake District on one side and the Pennines on the other, it's a beautiful place to spend a hot August day. And the 70th anniversary of the Battle of Britain means there are some bigger birds in the air too. Back to the birds in hand, there's more action after lunch. Was it all about the dead grouse? I asked one of the guns, Andy Richardson. A reasonably successful day. Is it true you got 2 birds with 1 shot?
I actually did. Yes.
Isn't that? I mean, that's slightly overrating it because you're only here for 5 brace, and so you get one of the brace.
That's correct. But I did miss 2 easy birds this morning, so.
So you're feeling a bit redeemed now.
That's right. Definitely.
Now I asked Donna and I asked Liz, is it really all about the dogs, or is it about the guns, or is it a bit of a mixture?
For me, seeing the dogs working and seeing the keepers, kind of the smile on the faces when we're actually shooting, that's the big thing. The shooting at the end of the day, it is part of it, and possibly for some of these guys it's a bigger part than it would be for myself. I've just got the love of being out here.
Now you must hold them up for the folks back home. There we are. Look at that, aren't they beautiful?
Yeah.
That's an old one, by the look of it, and that's a young one.
That's correct.
Yep. So
old hen and a young hen.
A good mixture. Wonderful. They are the king of birds, aren't they? With that last double from Andy, that's the 10 brace accounted for. Time to leave Cumbria and a team of happy guns and dogs. Now we're off to join Roy Lupton, who is sorting out foxes on a pig farm with help from a haystack. For a fox, this pig farm is the equivalent of a fast food joint. The farmer has been losing a lot of piglets, and frequent fox forays into and around the arks have been disturbing the farrowing sows. They're becoming so agitated, they're crushing their young. It all adds up to a very expensive fox problem that needs sorting, which is where Roy comes in. He's travelled to Norfolk to help out his friend and put a dent in the fox population.
No, so we've come to Norfolk. We're a big outdoor pig unit. A friend of mine phoned up and said that they're having a lot of trouble with foxes coming in and taking piglets from the sows when they're giving birth. So we're coming up tonight to see if we can help control the numbers, because there's obviously quite a few foxes coming in. And once a fox gets in the habit of coming in and it learns that it can take the piglets like that, then it will continue to do so. It's not obviously just the piglets that it's taking, but it's causing huge disturbance to all the other sows. And again, that causes problems with when the sows get disturbed during the night. They'll stand up, get upset. When they're furrowing or whatever else, they could stand on the young piglets, roll on them. And so, it's quite a serious problem when you've got a pig unit like this and foxes that are learning to come in and take the piglets and cause the trouble. So we're hopefully going to be able to alleviate the problem a little bit. We've got some bait put out. Some of the piglets that have been crushed, etc. We put those out in the middle of the area there, and the foxes have been coming in over the last couple of days and taking those. Obviously, at the moment, we're not sure what time they're coming in. I'm hoping they come in before it gets dark, but if not, then we'll have to rely on the lamp.
The bait is a sorry sight and shows just what damage these foxes are doing. Roy has a great high vantage point and sets himself up, hoping it won't be too long a night. He waits and waits, gradually losing the light. But we do see a display from the youngsters he has to deal with. Along the field margin, 4 cubs play. But Roy wants to hold off.
All I've seen so far is 3 cubs playing. I want to wait for the dog and the vixen and see if we can get the dog and the vixen first. That's how, if we take a shot now, then we won't get the main ones that we want.
Having lost the light, Roy switches to the lamp, and one of the cubs is close to the bait. It's not ideal, but Roy takes his chance. 1 down. He now starts calling, and within minutes he fires off another shot. Again, it finds its target. He has 2 cubs, but he knows the job is far from over.
A little bit early when we still had the light, there were some cubs playing out in the field just beyond the pig unit, but we didn't want to take the cubs. The plan was to try and take the vixen if we could, or the dog, but they didn't show. And then just as it was getting dark, or just on dark, the first fox came in to the bait and had to take the shot quickly because it had made us on top of the bales because our wind was blowing straight towards them where the wind had swung round on us. Then we started squeaking again, and another one popped out through the hedge, and we ended up with 2. So I think it's going to be a bit of a longer night now. We're going to have to try a little bit harder and get the fox and the vixen.
At least 2 foxes with a taste for fast food won't be worrying the sows and the farmer anymore. Now, it's thanks very much to James Marchington of Sporting Shooter for making that film for us. And I'm glad to report that since he made the film until now, no piglet has been lost to a fox on that farm. We're back next week when we talk to the Scottish Gamekeepers Association about why they want buzzards back on the vermin list. This has been Fieldsports Britain, doing to the anti-fox hunters what putting a drawing pin on a chair did to teacher.